Washington, which they shared with dogs, cats, mules, and a bunch of other animals. Kari leaves behind her husband, 3 sons, Randall, his wife Carolyn, Ryan, and Russell, the grandson Kyle, 2 nieces, Renee and Aaron, 3 nephews, Christopher, Sebastian, and Kenneth, and her mother, Irene Bowerman. Kari also along with several teams. At least one of those teams is here in attendance today, and I've spoken with him, and I hope you will share the experience that you had as a team, allowing Kari to be a positive influence in your life. Kari founded and directed Camp Opportunity for 17 years, a summer camp she developed for troubled children. Throughout her life, Kari's favorite place was tending her flower gardens, filled with lilacs, begonias, hostas, and fuchsias. In retirement, she enjoyed traveling with her husband. She traveled a lot. She was known, the Garmans, both Kari and Dennis, were known for their spontaneity. They could plan long trips, and they did a lot of them. But they also did things at the drop of a hat. Just say, I called him up and say, Dennis, let's get in the Corvettes and go to the coast. And he'd say, when? I'd say, this afternoon. He'd go, okay, and away we'd go. He'd go in and tell Kari, pack your bags, we're on our way. And she just did it. She just an amazing woman to put up with Dennis. Oh, man. Whether she cruised the Suez Canal or the Caribbean or transoceanic cruises to the Mediterranean or shorter trips in the Bonanza, she loved to adventure. She did. That girl loved adventure. Dennis used to kid, he said, I can always tell when I'm going around corners too fast because Kari is squealing louder than the tires on the Corvette. I know I'm going a little too fast. She had a deep Christian faith and was very active in her church, Community Church of Christ, and for several years she also served as pastor. I would be remiss if I didn't touch on that just a little bit. Kari is in the arms of Christ right now, in the arms of her personal Lord and Savior. And she would want me right now to ask you if you have that same assurity. Do you know when your time comes, no one's left on earth alive. We're all going to make that trip. Do you know where you're going? She did. And that's where she's at today. And she would be asking me to ask you to give some thought to that today, to let her passing remind you of that certainty that's going to happen. And think about that. Think about that. Okay, Kari was also very active in the Camas Washougal Aviation Association at Pilot Families in Camas Grove. Yeah! How many Camas Washougal Aviation guys over here? Woo! Whole bunch of them. A celebration of Kari's life will be held today, beginning at 5, and you know the rest of it. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand the microphone at first to my lovely bride, Susie, because she has a little story about the shirt that I'm wearing tonight to this festivities. So, sweetheart, you come up and tell people about it.
Well, we were so blessed to travel with Dennis and Kari many times on cruises. And we went to Barbados once, and Kari really wanted to go to the batik factory. And it ended up we didn't have time. So the next time we were cruising and ended up in Barbados, we decided to go. And the guys were real reluctant about it, rolling their eyes and having a hissy fit about going to this batik factory. Like, oh, it's such a pain in the neck to go to the batik factory. Well, we got there. They had more fun than us girls. They shopped more than us girls and bought more than us girls. And this shirt is one that Kari helped Jim pick out at the batik factory. So, and he has another one. And every time he wears it, he thinks of Kari. And also this hat I'm wearing, Kari and I picked out when we were in Puerto Rico at a little shop downtown, Old San Juan. So I wore it in honor of Kari, and I will miss her greatly.
Okay, folks, here's how this is going to work. We're very spread out this evening. So I am here under the food tent, for those back there who can't see me. If you wish to share something about Kari, please come up to this tent. And there's a little short line that started here behind me of folks who want to share some things about Kari. So I'm going to be passing the microphone to them. But please come up and take a place in line and come up and share some thoughts with Kari. It's exactly what she would want you to do. So let's do it. So we're going to start right now with Steve-O. Steve-O, you have something you want to say?
Well, I wish I had a story to
Eat
share.
the mic! Eat the mic!
Eat the mic. I wish I had a story to share.
Eat it.
Just an observation. I've only knew Kari for about 10 years, but she made the world a better place one person at a time. And in a time where people identify now with the words personal pronouns, Kari identified with the words kindness, dignity, and grace. It actually defined her more than described her. That's who she was. We miss you, Kari. You'll always be in our hearts and minds. God bless Kari, and God bless the Garmans.
Who's next? Who else would like to say something?
And my mom was a great lady. She went to church. She did quilts and everything. And she's a great lover to all the family. Mitch, Brock, Jerome, and everybody. And so she's all happy for everything to be, you know. And she wrote me letters in prison. She came up and visited me up at Larch. And she called me once a week while I was driving. And she talked to me every day. But after the last year and a half, she lost her phone. And she didn't call me. She called me once a month. But anyway, she's all good friends at church and everything. And she's all friends with all the people and everything. And she's good friends with my son and my brothers. And all my friends and stuff. So everybody have good help with her. And she went in peace in heaven. And so it's a good idea for her. And it's all good for her. So thank you.
Oh boy, Ryan.
Hi. So I'm kind of representing. You have to put the mic next to your lips.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah. I feel a little bit like I'm representing a group of people, so I'm going to make it fast. My name is Kari Blair. I was married to Kari Blair. And sister-in-law to Steve, the coffee guy, and that makes me the daughter-in-law of Paul Blair. And Paul and Beverly Blair were close friends of Kari and Dennis through church. Paul taught school here for 31 years, so if you went to school here, you knew who he was. If you got in trouble, he was a counselor, you knew him really well. And I met Kari I moved here in 86 to start my life with Glenn. And I met her the very first weekend. Glenn took me to church, and there was Kari. And the first thing I remember about her was that beautiful smile. Just very warm, very welcoming. You know, she welcomed me from the beginning. And then I also noticed, you know, I mentioned to Glenn, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. Like Kari was naturally just beautiful. And Glenn goes, yeah, he says, when I was younger in middle school, I kind of had a mom crush on her. And Kari was, she was an inspiration. She was a light. Our families, Paul wouldn't fly, so they didn't go on all the trips. But there were lots of dinners, and we'd go up there, and they'd come to our house, and church. And Kari she never quit. She was always constantly moving. She had projects left and right. She had more energy than 10 people. And then also managed to look perfect all the time. I asked my niece Hannah, who lives out of town, if there's anything she wanted me to say for her, and she goes, gosh, 30 years, I don't know what to say, there's so much. And I said, just any little quick thing that you can think of, a little story. She goes, actually, she says, I always remember hearing her beautiful fingernails clicking on the keys when she played piano. as accompaniment for them singing. And, Kari she had that natural beauty, but it was unfussy because she was always ready to go. She just, if somebody needed something, she was going to put on her dungarees and put up that beautiful hair, and she was going to work hard. And she showed up for everything. Our families, had tragedies back and forth, and she was always at the hospital, and she was always, helping out with the kids. And she was just an amazing, non-stop inspiration. And she didn't let, my late daughter had a special relationship, and they really pushed, they thought that no child should ever go hungry. And, they made a lot of progress in working at the camps with youth. And I just remember she was always there. She was everywhere. Anything that happened, she showed up. And her beauty and her grace. And, if you were asked to do something by Kari and you didn't say yes right away, she kept at you. Like anybody she finally got you to do it. Because she saw the gifts in other people. And she thought you could do something that she needed. She talked you into using that gift. And that was a special power she had. She saw that in children. She saw that in everyone around her. But she also didn't want to see it squandered, so you better get in there and work hard too. So, and then with her, we all are. Sadly, my father-in-law will be here telling me Kari stories, and my father-in-law Paul, my mother-in-law Bev, and Glenn and Sandra, Rebecca are no longer with us, but they were close and meant a lot to Kari. And also, Paul was kind of like, okay, this is on the slide, don't tell Dennis, but Paul was kind of like her second husband. So when Dennis was off flying around and doing stuff he needed to do, he would often help wrangle those Garman boys. And they were very close and very dear friends, and it was an honor to have known them.
Thank you very, very much.
Doug?
I'll go after him. I'll go after that guy. Doug, can you please eat the mic and yell?
I'm like Jim Bob. I trained under the best. You gotta be out there.
Talk loud.
And for those of us that are in the pilot community that she and Dennis were a major part of, is that these women that were married to a special kind of idiot that Jim Bob, myself, and Dennis, highly represent, the patience and grace of their ability to deal with us. And it was just a special thing, and she was a special woman.
Thank you.
My name's Beverly, and I've known Kari since the probably late 50s. I was with the class of 60, since Dennis and I went to school together. But I can remember Kari on our school bus, and that school bus was number 7. And Kari lived off of Argent Road, way out, we're at least 5 miles out in the country. And I knew Kari was dating Dennis. And I thought, oh, that poor girl. Dennis had a bit of a reputation. He was kind of like a little bad boy. Dennis was smart. He did lots of things that I've learned in our adulthood concerning tests at school and so forth. But little Kari was such an innocent young lady. Well, we all were, but she was really innocent. And considering that she was a class of 61, I really felt badly for her. And look what happened to her. She married Dennis. They had a family. They've had a lovely life together. And bless her heart, she was just one of the gang. And I thank you all for coming here and remembering Kari in your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Mark Paris. I guess I've known the Garmans 20 plus years at least. Great bunch, and I want to say right off the bat, Kari's the best thing that ever happened to Dennis, period. I've got a couple stories, and just one real quick one about those Corvette trips. They're zooming all over, having a good time. And, you think, oh, little Kari sitting there, probably getting scared to death on the curves and all that. Not so. She was into it. And my favorite story is they were coming around a curve, pretty good, and this was related to me by Dennis. He said, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I heard Kari say, hit it! And they took off like a rocket. And another quick story about her personality. I lived down the river, and Kari called me up every now and then and said, hey, you got any salmon? I got some people coming out from, out east, and we want to grill up a salmon. I just happened to get one this morning, so yeah. I want it fresh. I said, oh, it's, just got it out 2 hours ago. So she calls up, and she says, yeah, come on down, I got it, okay. Well, about that time, another buddy of mine had stopped by, and he just had a shoulder operation. I had a back operation, so it's kind of hard to, get those salmon. So we decided that 2 of us could probably do it. So, amazingly, we hooked into a big one. We're swapping out till we can't stand it anymore. And then, after about 25 minutes, we get it in. And we're laughing. It's 32 pounds. It was a nice salmon. And we haul it up the hill, and we're just sitting on the deck, kind of breathing hard, and the fish is flopping in the grass. And Kari shows up in her Lexus. And she's sort of looking around, and she walks over. Is it fresh? And it's still flopping right there. I said, is that fresh enough? And she goes, yeah, you want that one? Yeah. So we cleaned up quick, and off she went. They had their barbecue, but heart of gold woman, you all know that. So God bless her. And, she's in the right place now. Thank you.
My name is Netta Brode, and Kari and I belong to the same church. Kari would come every Tuesday, and we would quilt. And we just last week, we donated 9 quilts to the San Francisco Legacy Hospital. And some of that material that went in those quilts was from Kari. And what I have tonight is I have a couple of quilts that she had done the blocks, but they had not been put together. And so I have 2 quilts. One is for Leilani. Where's she at? Where's she at? There you are. So what is unique about this quilt is all of these blocks were hand sewn. And I don't know if Kari hand sewed them or if her mother did, because they're just well done. So anyway, this was for Leilani. It has flannel on the back. There you go. There you go. Can you get a picture? So then there was another one that was handed to me, and there's 20 blocks, and the pattern called for 5 more blocks, and unfortunately, I did not want to make the blocks, the other blocks, so I didn't. But I think what I did to it will be fine. And this is for Dennis. This is Dennis's quilt. Where's he at? Come on, Dennis, you need to come get this one.
Enough? Garman?
Come on, Dennis.
He's coming.
He's coming.
He's coming.
All right.
Back more.
We all know Kari's personality, and let me tell you, Kari's personality comes out in this quilt. Look, it's airplanes. Oh, we got to fly the wrong way. And so what I did landing lights when you come in for a landing on an airplane are bright. And so we have landing lights instead of five more lights. But I think it's beautiful. It definitely is Kari.
Oh, the house saw it. Really good.
And she shopped all over for years for the fabric for this quilt. So she had worked on it and wanted Dennis to have it. Thank you so much, Dad, for making it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Poor little Kari getting stuck with me.
Yeah, that's right.
Where's Beth? Beth. Like Jim Bob said, we'd be pulling onto a freeway and she'd say, hit it, hit it. And one time over in Idaho on Highway 30, our buddy in a Corvette said he was doing 140 and not catching us. Poor little Kari. And another little story that's worth telling. In the airplane, sometimes we'd be 15, 20 miles from somewhere. And Kari'd start this thing. It was the only thing in the airplane that kind of bugged me. Don't we need to call somebody? She'd be sitting up, don't we need to call somebody? She didn't know the first thing that was going on. Don't we need to call somebody? Well, we left perhaps Oshkosh, and we're heading off to Billings, and I had left the oil cap unsecured, and the oil would go forward, come up over the top of the cowl, and it's starting to coat the windshield. So we're heading into Billings. You cannot see out the front of the windshield. It's so covered in oil. She didn't have a clue. She's sitting there, shouldn't we call ahead?
That's good, Dennis.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Alice. Oh, Alice.
Hi, I'm Alice Rankin, and I'm part of the Three Amigos group. Called
Starting, it's dead, Liz. I saw it. It died. Don't kill it.
Eat the mic.
Hold the bottom. This started, over 20 years ago, and our three husbands, Dennis, Jim Bob, and Gary, were kind of known as the Three Amigos, and the six of us probably took over a dozen cruises together, and we did the Corvette trips together, and we did the plane trips together, and then later we did the hot spring trips together in the Corvettes, and we just had a great time. And she's very special, and I've got kind of an ode to Kari.
Whoops, excuse me.
God saw her growing tired, and he knew a cure was not to be. So he put his arms around her, and he said, come to me. With tearful eyes, we watched her as she slowly passed away. And though we loved her dearly, we couldn't make her stay. Her golden heart stopped beating. Her busy hands came to rest. God broke our hearts, but he proved to us he only takes the best. And so I'd like to say, in Kari's behalf, holy moly, Kari Ann, we miss you.
Hi, my name is Brock Peters, and I think I've known the Garmans for probably 35 plus years. Rusty was a good friend of mine, still is a good friend of mine. Randy I've known, and Ryan, and Kari and Dennis, they showed me love before I even knew what love was. My parents passed away when I was in my 20s, and I struggled with drugs and alcohol throughout my whole life, my younger years, and they opened up their home to me several times growing up and treated me like one of their own. And Kari was always there for me when I needed her on the phone. She came and visited me in Palm Springs when I was living down there. Took her time and came down to visit me. She just was a mother that I didn't have at times that I needed, and Dennis too. Dennis was always there when I needed to talk to, and I always appreciated that. And she's gonna be missed, and I don't know what else to say. I really haven't mourned her death, so it's pretty hard. And, what a wonderful spread that's going on here. It's so nice to see everybody here, and she'd be proud to see this too. And, thanks.
Hi, I'm Barbara. I'm going to stumble on my words because I really also too haven't grieved a whole lot. Sorry. Anyway, so I'm just going to read what I shared on Facebook after Kari had passed. It says, Heaven gained this amazing soul last night. A brief story about Kari Garman. I met her 40 years ago at the Lewis River campgrounds through our church. She became like a mom to me. She was so loving and kind to me as I was a troubled teenager. Her home was one of my favorite places to be. Kari was so classy, loving, caring, and had such a strong faith. She shared her love and acceptance of others with so many people. As I moved back to Washington, I had the privilege, I moved away and only kept in touch with her during Christmas time. But after my mother passed away in 2012, I had the opportunity to get to know her again and be reunited. Once I moved back to Washington, I had the privilege to spend a lot of time visiting Kari. I took my granddaughter Leilani often to spend time with Kari. She would dig in the garden with her. My last visit with Kari was on March 31st. She was in good health that day. She'd gotten her nails done, and Dennis asked me to pick her up from the nail salon. We went shopping. We got lunch. We had a great visit. As she walked me to my car, she told me she was tired. She was ready to be done. She was tired of the struggle of the Parkinson's disease. She grabbed my hands, looked me in the eyes, and sang, You are my sunshine to me. May you rest in peace, Kari Garman, and thank you for touching our lives.
Hi, my name's Debbie Huddleston. I've known the Garman family for quite a few years. And you know, it's amazing how God puts people in my life. And you know when you meet someone that just has a bright, vibrant soul, you just know it. And Kari was definitely cut from that bright cloth. I'm extremely grateful and will forever and eternally be grateful for her spirit and her positivity. I too kind of went down a dark path younger in my years, and I don't think I ever received a crossword from Kari. It was always very supportive, and I will always remember, I guess just basically what I want to say is I will always remember her bright soul. She was definitely that way, and I have a passion for quilts, and when she brought to me a quilt for my youngest son, it meant the world, and it's something that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. And so the giving of the quilts here tonight really is something that I know Kari right now is up there just smiling and has a thankful heart. So thank you for everybody who has gathered as well. I just feel like I need to say that. So I'm going to try and tell a story. I don't know if I'm going to get it right. So my mom, Betty Huddleston, and Kari were pretty good friends, and evidently they were given some concert tickets by one of the boys, and so they went to the concert, waiting in line for what they thought was what concert, Mom? Neil Diamond. And then someone in that line shared with them that that concert was the night before. So Kari and my mom made a pact with each other that they wouldn't tell anybody that they didn't see the concert. So, you know, that's the kind of spirit that Kari was. And so I hope everybody has a lovely evening.
Is there anyone else who would like to say something? Our host.
Thank you.
Jim Metzger for being the MC of a lifetime. Some of you have heard this poem. It seems appropriate. See, Giorgio. Kari didn't get to meet Giorgio, but she would have approved of Giorgio. And I'm just going to tell a quick story about Giorgio and segue into Kari. Giorgio was born 5 weeks ago on a Saturday night, and his mother died giving birth to his twin the next day. And Neil and I, we had 3 hours before Wilco Farm Store opened to buy lamb formula and a bottle and a big nipple on it. And so we herded all the other ewes and their 2-month-old babies into the small sequestered part of the front of the barn, thinking that these mothers would adopt our orphaned ram lamb. Well, they were not like Kari. They did not adopt Giorgio. And so we had 3 hours to kill before the farm store opened, and they weren't going to feed him, so we started bottle feeding Giorgio when he was about a day old, and he slept on my husband. And we all need to shout out to Neil Cahoon, my wonderful husband. He has the hat on over there. Kari loved Neil, by the way, and she always thought, man, I'm so glad that finally somebody might calm that Liz pipe down. But Kari did what most women wouldn't do. She took on people that needed parents. And I didn't find out all about Kari until I helped Dennis write her obituary. And I loved Kari from the moment I met her. But I learned more about her posthumously than when she was living. But I thought about the dash. It's a poem by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was that dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, Dennis and Kari, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that still can be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and to show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, God bless airplanes, and God bless Kari. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you lived your dash? And I'm sorry to rip that off from a famous author, but I did credit her in all disclosure. But Kari lived her life. She was such a great woman, and Neil and I were lucky enough to be invited on a cruise with the Garmans. And I know people were they were a little suspect when Neil hooked up with Liz Pike. And they're like, wow, poor Neil. But they invited us into their lives, and they invited us on this cruise, and they were so welcoming to me I'm not an aviator, but they invited us into their life, and we've had so many fond memories of them. Kari was the first person to pitch in for the Kamasquashul Aviation Association activities at the airport. In case you didn't know, there's a little airport right there. And they are very community involved, and they have lots of things that involve the surrounding community. They have a career aviation day, they have a barbecue, they do fly, where they teach kids how to fly. There's all kinds of wonderful things that they are giving back to the community. And Kari was the first person to sign up to cook hamburgers and hot dogs, or prep potatoes for a steak feed. She was always there, and when I started helping Dennis with her obituary, I realized how many lives she touched before I even knew her, and she helped so many young people. I don't know how many of you folks realize, but they brought many young people into their homes and raised them through their high school years because they needed parents. And they didn't think twice about it. How many of us would do that? Take in kids off the street and raise them as their own through the most critical years. And you heard of some of those stories from the folks tonight. And Kari, Dennis, I just gotta say, you are one lucky guy. 59 years with an amazing woman. So when we heard the sad news that Kari had gone on to a better place, Neil and I called Dennis. Actually, I dispatched Neil because he's a really good messenger too, among many things. But I said, you should tell Dennis that we would love to host her memorial here at the farm because she was such a special lady. And we're so happy that you're all here at the farm to celebrate Kari's wonderful life. So thank you for being here, and I think my time is done.
Is there anyone else? Anyone else? We are going to move to the next portion of the evening, and that is 14 home-baked pies. And they're all set out here, but before you make the line for the pies, we're going to end this evening with a toast, a champagne toast, or a toast of whatever beverage you choose. If you want champagne, go to the Cowboy Bar in the back and get some champagne and hold it until we have our toast for Kari. It'll be the last thing we do this evening. We'll have that and a really nice prayer by Barbara, and that'll close the evening. So if you want some champagne for the toast, go back to the Cowboy Bar and get it, hold it. Otherwise, let's come have some pie. Thank you all.